Welcome to Between the Lines, the Five Towns Jewish Times podcast, where newsmakers unpack the stories shaping the Jewish community.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Between the Lines, the electronic version of the Five Towns Jewish Times. I'm Larry Gordon, my co-host and partner, Esta Gordon, and a very special guest in our studio here in Cedarhurst today is Fleur Hassan-Nahoum, who we met in Israel more than several times, former deputy mayor of Jerusalem, and now on a tour of, I guess you're around the United States, or you're just in the New York area this time around?
I'm going to be also in Atlanta, so you're
primarily visiting schools, high schools, universities?
Yes.
And from what I read, primarily your function is to somehow get the students, potential students in the American schools to want to get interested in universities around Israel.
Absolutely.
So which schools in particular are you promoting in Israel, for example?
I'm promoting all of the schools in Israel that have an international school. In other words, every single university that has degree courses, full degrees in English, that's what I'm here to promote. I'm here to promote the idea that perhaps a wonderful choice, instead of going to college here, which is what most people would do, most people don't even understand that you can study in Israel that has top-class universities that are internationally recognized, where the best innovation in the world is coming out of, and that you can study full degrees in English, and let me tell you, in a much more affordable way than going to college in America. But it's not in most people's radar. So I'm here to put it on the radar.
So which schools in particular are you referring to? Which are the top three schools?
So we are promoting, I'm agnostic as to where they go.
Okay.
I just want to get them to know that there are options to study full degrees in Israel. So we have top-tier universities, which are on the level of the Ivy Leagues here, like the Technion.
Yeah, I was going to say Technion,
like Hebrew University, top 100 schools, Tel Aviv University, Weizmann University, Bar Ilan, Ariel University, where my son goes. They've got an amazing international school. Reichman, which is a wonderful college. All of the Israeli universities are really top class, and most people don't know.
Now, of course, a podcast these days goes out around the world, so not just limited to we happen to be sitting in our office and studio in Cedarhurst, New York. But it's a very big population here that's very good candidates for what you're promoting in our schools. It's a standard.
Yeah.
It's the exception to the rule is young men and young women who don't spend at least a year in Israel after they finish high school.
Yeah.
It's called the gap year, I guess, is what you refer to in the profession. But I think that they tend to want to come back home unless they make Aliyah, which a small percentage
because
do.
they didn't know of these options.
Well, I'm not selling Aliyah here. I'm just saying
the options are go to yeshiva, go to seminary, and then go to a college and get all the credits.
Exactly.
It's the
get
best
all the
of
credits
both worlds.
and learn what, Campus Israel, the organization that I've co-founded with my partner, Lisa Barkan, we essentially are providing the missing layer, which is awareness, marketing, but we also have a digital platform to make it easy, that helps you find all the options, that helps you hold your hand through the application process, helps you when you land, helps you with anything you need in Israel. That was the missing layer to make it easy. And that's what we've created. We're not inventing college in Israel in English. We're just making it easy.
So, but you're also competing with the American schools are doing the same thing, especially Landers College and Yeshiva University. They're offering courses.
I mean, I don't
so
want to
it's very competitive.
I don't want to see it as competition. You have almost 100,000 Jewish kids going into college every year in America. If I get 5% of those kids to think about Israel and come to Israel, we've already changed the future of the diaspora, because those kids are going to come back to America transformed from having spent 3 years in Israel, from knowing who they are, where they come from, and knowing the resilience of Israel. But more importantly than everything, college everywhere around the world has become a different place to when I went to college or you went to college. College now around the world is teaching you what to think. In Israel, we still teach you how to think, which is part of our incredible heritage of healthy debate that has almost disappeared everywhere else.
So is Birthright a breeding ground where you can also recruit?
Birthright, Massa, we're going to be working with Massa. Massa already helps some college kids with scholarship, with small scholarships. So we're going to be working with them as well. I believe in a big tent. I think that the opportunity for a different college experience, one which is much more focused on career, one which opens up a world of innovation and technology that you may never have experienced here. Internships that we can organize for you, mentors that we can organize for you to meet. That's something that we can really do in Israel because it's a small country and the opportunities are much closer.
So let's explore the relationship for a few minutes between the United States specifically and Israel. You know, when the war with Iran started and some of the extremists on the right were advocating, why are you going to war with for Israel? Why are you committing potentially so many so much equipment and so many potentially troops to go fight for Israel? And then the ambassador, Mike Huckabee, the U.S. ambassador to Israel, said there are 700,000 Americans who live in Israel. So
not just the 700,000 Americans that live in Israel, but this is a toxic regime that has killed thousands of Americans, maimed thousands of Americans, who wake up every morning and say, death to America, death to Israel. We are only the extension of America to those people. These are the Nazis of our era, the Islamic Republic of Iran. And I think that President Trump has been the only president brave enough to deal, instead of kicking the can down the road for the next generation to deal with this monster. He's dealing with it. I think he's great.
So we agree with you. I think we agree with you.
Wholeheartedly.
No debate here. But also, I saw this morning before you came in that the Iranian government, or whatever, they were so efficient, the United States, that there's nobody left. They don't know.
There's nobody left to talk to.
So they're actually fighting themselves. That's
this is exactly.
Whoever they're talking to said that the country is near collapse, on the verge of collapse.
That's great news.
There's nothing left, but there's still 90 million people there.
Well, the 90 million people don't want this regime. The 90 million people will step up once they know that they're not going to be murdered for going out and protest in the street.
Right.
That those 90 million people, let's say 85 million people who want a regime change, have a transitional leader that they're shouting out his name, which is Reza Pahlavi, who is an incredible man who said, I will be the transitional leader. I will do what the people want. I don't want to be a dictator. We can have a constitutional monarchy or we can have a parliamentary system. It doesn't matter. I'm here to help my people, to liberate my people. This is something that they didn't have available a few years ago.
And they got rid of
his father.
47
They got rid of
years
his
ago.
father. That's fine.
Right.
There was a revolution.
Right.
There were reasons why that happened. But today, those people, after 47 years of Islamic repression, have had enough. And I believe that the world is full of Chamberlains. And there's two Churchills today, Trump and Netanyahu. And that's what we've seen.
So your function is attached to Israel's foreign ministry,
yes,
correct?
Functionally attached to them. That's a very good way of putting it.
And you're a former deputy mayor of Jerusalem.
That's right.
It's like almost like being mayor of New York. I mean, not today, but the mayor of New York, they say, is the most difficult job in the United States after the president of the United States.
I think to be the mayor of Jerusalem, and I worked with Moshe Leon, who I really love, is one of the most challenging jobs in the country because Jerusalem is the most diverse city in the country. We have 40% Arab population, 30% Haredi population, and the rest
Are there.
Yeah. So it is a very challenging, it's the poorest city in the country because of low workforce participation by the Haredim and the Arabs. And so, yes, we have a lot of issues in Jerusalem. But, I always say, I don't want to offend New Yorkers. When they say if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. I actually think if you can make it in Jerusalem, you can make it anywhere.
I think you're right. I don't think New York is a very big challenge, that's for sure. But in terms of Jerusalem, at one point you had your sights set on becoming mayor.
No, I never really wanted to be the mayor.
Ran?
No, I want to be the foreign minister.
You want to be the foreign minister?
Yes.
Who's the foreign minister now?
A nice man called Gideon Sa'ar.
Oh, Gideon Sa'ar, yes.
Yeah.
But he's on a track to become prime minister someday, I think.
I think he thinks so. Let's see.
I think I've heard him speak.
He's he's an intelligent man and he has integrity. So it wouldn't be a bad choice for the country.
It seems to be that in a lot of these foreign countries, except for Britain, where they speak English as a matter of they're born speaking English. If you could speak English and you come from a foreign country, that's like 70% of the game. 70% of the qualification.
Well, I speak Spanish too, so I think,
if
maybe I get some more points.
Then you can be mayor of New York, you know.
Sure.
But if you want to be a foreign minister, you have to be able to speak, and with an English accent. You went to school in London, right?
Yes, I'm British.
Okay, so let's go back in your personal history a little bit.
Sure.
You were born in Gibraltar.
I was actually born in London, but my mother only went to London to give birth. She came back to Gibraltar. I know.
Oh, interesting.
She was worried.
She was worried about what? Worried about Gibraltar?
I think it would have been better off in Gibraltar, but okay.
Well, she was older when she was pregnant, so she was concerned and she wanted the best care. And at the time, in 1973, when I was born, it was a safer bet. So she went to London, gave birth to me, came back after 13 days, and I was raised in Gibraltar. And it was a wonderful childhood.
So you're a British citizen?
Yes, I am. But we spoke Spanish at home.
And you spoke Spanish at home because of the relationship between Gibraltar and Spain, I guess.
Well,
right?
because of the geography of where we are. We're in southern Spain. Most people speak Spanish. My mother is actually from Spanish Morocco, so that was her mother tongue.
But there's such a big variety of dialects that are not easy for one to understand the other.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Well, dialects of Morocco?
Of Spanish.
Yeah. There's no dialects of Spanish. There's accents in Spanish.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, and I have Andalusian Spanish. So it's interesting because the people in Madrid will look down at my accent.
Cute.
They think, oh, she's a southerner, the way that you might do the same thing here.
Like they do in Italy, I think.
Yeah, like they do in Italy.
Yeah,
so I've got an Andalusian accent, you know, and I do a lot of hasbara, I do a lot of interviews, sometimes very hostile interviews with the Spanish press since October 7th.
It's a problem.
And they're very confused because there's me talking in this Andalusian accent. They're like, where the hell are you from? I'm like, I'm from Gibraltar.
It's amazing.
What's going on with Spain and Israel?
Terrible. We have a disgraceful prime minister who has made it part of his political agenda to bring back anti-Semitism to the country. He's allied himself with far left communists, and it's a similar political system as Israel. Well, it's a similar political system than Israel. He's living on a very thin coalition. So he has to throw gifts at the radical anti-Semites. And of course, he throws us under a bus as possible. He's also surrounded with corruption charges. His wife has just been indicted. His brother was indicted, and his best friend was indicted. He's a hop, skip, and a jump away from being indicted himself. And so what is the tried and tested method to distract the population? Blame the Jews.
Right.
That is thousands of years of scapegoatism, which is making its way back in a big way in Spain.
What's the Jewish population in Spain?
Very
like
little.
Today?
It's like 20,000, something like that.
That's it?
Yeah.
I'm sure they have a Chabad house there in Madrid.
They don't do in Gibraltar because we're a nice from community that never needed Chabad. But in Marbella, which is, where I would suggest when you come on holiday to Gibraltar to go to Marbella Chabad, it's wonderful there.
So, but it's one of the smallest countries in the world, Gibraltar. What is it, 900 families, is it?
No, Gibraltar's about 35,000 people.
A lot of them are related at this point.
Well, that's Gibraltar. The Jews you're right, Jews about 800 Jews. And many are related. Like I am related to your daughter-in-law.
Right.
That's correct. Very fascinating. Very fascinating.
Two Gibraltarians that were related.
Right. In one office on the same day.
In one office in the same day. What are the chances?
Very, very, very.
Very slim.
Very slim. Very unlikely.
I'd like to bring up the shekel and the dollar now.
Okay. What about it?
What, 3? 3 shekels to $1?
I heard it was under 3 for a short time.
Yes.
2.9, 2.8.
Yes. Look, the
great
shekel
for the Israelis, I think.
It's great for the Israelis. My daughter, who went, traveling after her national service, was thrilled.
Right.
Look, the shekel is a very strong currency. The Israeli economy through the war has proven to be so resilient. Our stock market has really clocked in what no other stock market in the last 2 years has done.
Really?
30% up.
During the war?
35% up. The investment coming into Israel is unprecedented.
Europe or just America?
No, everywhere.
All over the world?
Cybersecurity, investment in defense technology has skyrocketed.
Wow.
You know, we've proven to be one of the strongest militaries in the world, but also one of the most technologically advanced militaries in the world. And people want in. And that's really Israel's secret sauce.
Right.
This ability to constantly innovate, make things better. And unfortunately, we're in a circumstance where we have to try and test this technology in war in order to survive.
Right.
And that gives us that edge. I hope that one day we can be focusing on other technologies and not defense technologies,
Right.
but that's the world that we're living in. And, you know, the beauty of the Jewish people is that we never see the world as it is. We see the world as it should be. We're always innovating. We're always innovating.
Let's talk about Iran for a moment, because it's obviously very much in the news.
Absolutely.
Israel is deeply entrenched. The Mossad is deeply entrenched in.
That's what they tell me.
In Iran, as a matter of fact, I read somewhere that at one point they appointed someone to investigate the nature of the depth of the
collaboration and the infiltration, and he was in the Mossad.
Turns out he was a Mossad person.
You know what? The guy running the country may be part of the Mossad. Who knows?
That might be the future government.
Exactly.
Maybe Israel will end up running it. An Israeli will
somehow.
End up running it.
Well, I think the good Persian people can run themselves. We have to help them liberate. You know, it's so beautifully and so biblical and so historic that Cyrus the Great, the greatest Persian leader, liberated the Jews.
I never knew that. You knew that?
Well, he was the child of Esta, I believe.
That's right.
With King Ahasuerus.
And he liberated.
Didn't have a Jewish father.
He liberated the Jews.
So he had a Jewish mother.
Yes, Esta Hamalka.
Okay.
So he liberated the Jews.
Wow.
That's the connection.
And now the Jews are liberating the Persians. We're returning that beautifully. We're returning that debt. You know, and the other thing I find fascinating is that, because I truly see the Iranians, the Islamic Republic, rather, I really see them as the Nazis, as the Hitler of our era. Where were we, you know, in the last World War? We were the victims, and now we're the liberators.
Right.
That's awesome. That is really an incredible thing.
It's really the Iranians till now for the last 47 years were run by a religious zealotry. I think
a death cult
with this, with the idea of the supreme leader,
right.
And even even the supreme leader today, and the original Ayatollah.
The supreme leader today apparently is a cardboard cutout, and nobody's seen it.
He may not be. He may not exist.
He may not exist. He may not. He may not be alive. Actually, there's a strong suspicion he's not. But you know, the IRGC.
That's
hell-bent on surviving this, on staying on their feet. And these Islamists, you know, they could be half dead. They'll still put the V sign and say, we won.
Yeah, that's another problem with the negotiations with them.
Of course.
No matter what deal you make, and they're yesterday talking about a phased type of agreement, you know, you can't depend on it.
You know, the one amazing thing that I think Trump has turned the script here is the fact that in the past, time was always on the hands of the Islamic Republic. They would play around with American presidents. They would push negotiations. They would make them longer. They would say yes. They would say no. They'd come back. Time was on their hands as they built their nuclear capabilities and ballistic capabilities in order to attack the free world. Today, because of the blockage of the Straits of Hormuz, time is not on their side. Time is on our side. Of course, Trump is not rushing back to start military aggressions. He doesn't have to. He's choking them economically.
They're going to have to cap.
They want to take over the Strait. They decided they can never allow Iran.
They're going to have to cap. They're going to have to cap the oil wells pretty soon.
Well, they're going to. Yeah, they're going to. They might have to take over that cargo island. But either way, the point is, we are currently freeing the world of its most dangerous, repressive dictatorship.
Let's talk for a couple of minutes about Israel's political future, okay?
Sure.
Donald Trump is turning 80 in June. Bibi Netanyahu is 76.
No, 77,
you have an election coming. You have an election coming
I
up.
think so.
You have an election coming up pretty soon in Israel. All kinds of people are throwing their hats in the ring.
Yeah.
Bennett tried to make
Again.
a coalition with Lapid, which
Oh, boy.
doesn't smell right from our vantage point, but now they're being sued for some reason. I don't know exactly why they're being sued. That's what I saw today on our somebody suing them. Something.
Never a dull moment in Israel,
great.
that's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. So, how do you, as a political personality, you played an important role in the evolution of Jerusalem, bringing it to what it is today.
Thank you.
I think I read somewhere that you introduced the bicycle lanes in Jerusalem.
Well,
right?
yes,
that's right. A number of years
that's
ago.
very important.
Yeah.
Well, I pushed for the
I think
bicycle
we
lanes,
met
but I
you at the
introduced
plaza
I
at the
introduced
Waldorf
the
that time.
bicycles. The bicycles.
The bicycle.
I had to fight with the Haredim to introduce bicycles.
I'm amazed here in Manhattan. That when they have the bicycles that
Yeah.
you could pay for.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
That anyone brings them back. I'm shocked when the
Well, in Israel,
bicycles come
we're
back.
cleverer. We get you to take them out with your credit card, which means you have to bring it back.
And this is the only way, I guess, to have to do it.
Okay.
Right? We're clever.
Yeah.
So how do you see the short political future? I'm not talking about a long time from
Short
now.
term?
Yeah.
Who's the future leader that could naturally, almost, if it's possible, seamlessly continue on the Netanyahu path?
Well, Netanyahu has done really nothing to create succession options. He's been a very all-encompassing leader, and that's probably part of his success. So I don't see a clear leader, but there are some really good people around. We have a lot of heroes from the October 7th war, these reservists who just showed incredible bravery and leadership. Smart, they have a vision for the future.
Who do you have in mind?
There's a lot of new people on the scene. So I don't have anybody in particular in mind, but there are reservists who come up. There are new leaders, new parties. We'll have to see who comes up. But it's not going to be easy, that transition, because Netanyahu really has been a very, I would say, centralist leader. He is not just the prime minister, he's also the foreign minister and the defense minister. And he really, because Netanyahu grew up in America, he really has an understanding that most Israelis don't. And I truly believe that the Israeli political class has become more and more provincial as time has gone on. And Netanyahu is the kind of one interlocutor that has managed to be able to communicate with American presidents. That's not going to be an easy thing to fill. And I think that actually the era after Netanyahu will run in this election, and there's probably a good chance he's going to win. I believe what's going to be more interesting is the era after. Netanyahu, because then that era we will have to see which leaders can come up and take over those roles. And that's the era when I think I'll probably go back into politics.
Who was the former mayor? I can't remember. Former mayor of
Nir
Jerusalem.
Barkat.
Nir Barkat, I was thinking.
No, I don't see him. I don't see him taking over the
him. I don't see him.
He seems to be. He believes he's on the trajectory.
Many
to
people
become
believe
prime
that.
minister.
Many people believe
He has what it
We have
takes.
the same issue in America. I mean, there are a lot of people that feel they could take over after Trump, but I know who I want.
Yes,
you know
I
who
mean
you want.
the process kind of like it sifts out its
Look,
its
let me
leadership
tell
in
you
a
what I
natural
truly
way.
believe. There's never a vacuum of power, right? Never.
Right.
Somebody always will fill those shoes.
Right.
And there you have better, and also after such a transformational and generational leader like Netanyahu, sometimes you can have a very dull person afterwards because it's just too much to have another big personality like that. Like after Margaret Thatcher came John Major. He was like the grayest guy out there. Yeah. But you needed that kind of palate cleanse
to get
until
back
you
to
moved
somebody,
on to
right.
somebody. So you just don't know.
Yeah,
Politics is very unpredictable. 1 minute you're on a high, the next minute you're on a low, the next minute you're back up again. People's fortune changes.
Nobody
like
thought
that.
Netanyahu would get one day past October 7th.
Oh, yeah.
And
Look at him. He has had the longest term since he became the prime minister.
Right.
Well, you heard. I don't know if you were here. Were you here Saturday night when the attempted assassination of President?
No, I was on my way here.
On your way here. So he said at a news conference later that night, at around midnight, he said it's only the presidents that get something done.
Right.
Of course.
Presidents of consequence who they come after.
Of course.
The ones that don't do anything, nobody wants to get rid of them.
Nobody tried to hurt
Exactly.
Joe Biden or
Or
Barack Obama.
or even Clinton.
They didn't do anything, so they left them alone. And the people that think they own the government, the State Department,
The
and
deep state.
They believe that the president needs to leave them alone and not interfere.
Yeah.
That they're a
Well, that they're unelected. They're they are governing a country unelected. It's the deep state. We have a similar issue in Israel.
Okay, that's a big problem. That's why it was a gift from God, I believe, that there was 4 years of Joe Biden in between the two Trump terms.
Right.
Because his first term had to fight the deep state.
We had COVID.
And he picked all the wrong people to help him out.
You know, he learned. You have to give the guy that. He really learned from his first term.
Right.
And he came back strengthened. Who would have...
He wasn't a
after
politician
all the
then.
indictments against him, all the cases against him, he came back fighting strong. Try to kill him 3 times now.
So
this
tough.
man is
Amazing.
something.
Well, God is on his
You
side.
know what?
protecting him.
Ultimately,
And they don't say it right
if you
now, but
believe,
that's the
if you
truth.
believe in God, and I think the same.
I
with
think
Bibi.
he knows it.
I spoke to a very religious person once in the Likud, and he said to me, "You know what, Fleur? I don't like Bibi, but God loves him." I was like, I can see that.
Listen, he endured the 4 years that Barack Obama was in the
He endured
in
Clinton.
the White House.
He endured Obama.
Especially Obama.
Oh yeah,
Obama
Clinton
was
a
nasty.
good. Clinton
Obama
was on
was
us. I
nasty.
always thought Clinton was a good president for us. You know, he tried with Oslo, but he is today. The Clintons have been very clear as to whose fault it is that we don't have peace in the Middle East. They firmly blame the Palestinians. Obama and his wife have been horrible. The Clintons have been very decent since October 7th. I'll give them that.
So you're going to be foreign minister someday. So what is Israel going to do with this Palestinian issue, or is it already being forgotten at the initiative of the Gulf states? They're not interested anymore either.
Look, I think the beauty of the Abraham Accords, which I, as you know, was very involved in. I'm the co-founder of the UAE Israel Business Council and the Gulf Israel Women's Forum. So what the Abraham Accords managed to do, and this again, Trump, give him that credit, is it managed to separate the conflict from the Arab-Israeli conflict to simply Palestinian-Israeli conflict. What they did was, the John Kerry, the Chacham Gadol,
yeah, right.
he basically said once that unless Israel resolves its problem with the Palestinians, the Arab world is never going to make peace with Israel.
Right.
And he couldn't have been more wrong.
Right.
And that's what the Abraham Accords managed to do, to separate those two things, to not allow Palestinian intransigence from keeping back the region from stability. That's what the Abraham Accords did. And I think that after this war, please God, is only going to accelerate. We're going to have peace with Saudi. We're going to have, please God, a free Iran, and it's going to be a different era. And in that era, Israel is the technological superpower in the middle of it. And where is the technological, assets? Where are they coming from? They're coming from Israeli universities. And I just want to make those universities accessible to the wider Jewish world.
Oh, you may have the Saudis coming to your colleges.
I have definitely thought about it.
Yeah, listen, we had a young man on one of the podcasts here a few weeks ago who is in a law firm that does business in Saudi Arabia, and he knows the Crown Prince, MBL, right?
MBS.
MBS, yeah.
Yes.
Mohammed bin
Salman.
Yeah.
Mohammed bin Salman.
Salman.
And he said that he was talking to him about the Abraham Accords. And he says, the Abraham Accords is for the other Gulf states. We're the kingdom. We're going to have a separate treaty with Israel.
Yes, whatever. Call it whatever they want.
He wants to have
Right.
a separate treaty with Israel.
Yeah.
Above and beyond.
We'll call it the Sarah and
other guys.
Hagar Accords.
Well, listen. Somehow, we're putting together we're patching the world together that God handed to us.
I think we're doing a pretty good job.
We're doing an amazing
holding
thing.
on.
I was very inspired by the astronauts. One of the astronauts who was describing what he saw when he was up there near the moon. Saw this little tiny tennis ball that was,
Earth.
that was the Earth and what's going on down here and our planet and what's going on here. So you're doing fabulous work and
Thank you. I'm trying my best. We're all trying our best. That's the beauty. I think
Listen,
that
you
the
have a
Jewish
bright
people
future.
all feel an obligation to do something. And that's important. That's how we've been
and
raised.
to be resilient.
And to be
And it
resilient.
doesn't make a difference what's going on in
And
the world.
to innovate and to think of new things and to move things forward, always. And, unfortunately, anti-Semitism, a lot of it comes from that resentment.
Well, unlike the history, unfortunately, when Jews lived through oppression. Now you have the ability to innovate and to be ambitious.
Yes.
And no one gets in your way, and you could change the world.
We can, and we are changing the world.
A lot of countries that expelled their Jews, afterwards wanted them
They
back.
went down the toilet. The countries
them
that
back again.
expelled their
Wanted them
Jews.
back.
I'll give you a little thing before we finish, which is connected to the startup nation in Israel. It's incredible. I was reading a book, and they were basically talking about the fact that towards in the Soviet era, they took the Jews who were professors and incredibly successful academics, and they started putting quotas. And so they wanted to limit the presence of Jews in these universities. And then the Jews got out of the Soviet Union because it became unbearable to be Jewish. They came to Israel, and those people that were extracted, or those people that weren't given opportunities, they became the backbone of the nascent startup nation of Israel. All those engineers were coming from the Soviet Union, from the place that didn't want them. So they threw out our Jews, and we are the asset that became. The same when you look at Hitler, and you look at when he wanted to build the atomic bomb. He got rid of all the nuclear physicists because they were all Jews. So who built the nuclear bomb? It was this country, because all the Jews came here escaping the persecution. So every country that has turned its back on Jews has gone down the drain. And the world still hasn't learned its lessons. But now we don't need to run anywhere, because we have our own country, and we have, thank God, a supportive country here in America where Jews are still free. And unfortunately, in college campuses, Jews are feeling that repression and that persecution. And I'm here to offer them another option.
A way out.
A way in. To their own people.
And a great improver. Thanks very much for stopping by.
I think it's great that you guys co-host this. I think it's wonderful.
And you have a bright future ahead of you. You're a young woman, very ambitious, great background.
Speak Spanish.
And we look forward to big things from you.
Like I always say.
I'm saying it works.
Hineni. That's what I always say. Hineni, I'm here.
When the opportunity presents itself, you'll take advantage of it.
Thank you.
Our guest has been Fleur Hassan-Nahoum. And it's great for you to be here, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. I'm Larry Gordon with Esta Gordon. This is Between the Lines, and thanks for joining us. Have a good day, everyone.